Morning everybody. Here we have a brand new product from Ortur. It's the Lasermaster 2 Pro and it just arrived. This is a pre-shipment. Apparently they don't start shipping till the end of this month, but I was lucky to get one a little bit early to make a video about. And this was provided by MadeTheBest.com. Now, they're a brand new company that just started up recently, so I don't really have a lot of background about them, but from what I understand, if any orders are placed and there's a problem, I do have contacts that I could get with. So just whenever you order anything from offshore, you always make sure that you use a credit card or PayPal or something that has a guarantee on it, but I feel that they should be a good company to deal with once they're around for a while. So this is what it looks like. It actually arrived in really good shape. Just going to cut it open. I'm really excited to see what this looks like because it has a lot of new features that really were requested by users of the old Lasermasters. Does come with good instructions for assembly. That's pretty cool. And pretty much it looks the same, except for there is a nice cable chain this time on this one. And this does include the new fixed focus laser. And at the same time, this laser does have a... Ah, shit. That was my wife upstairs making those funny squealing noises, but let me get this thing out of the box and then we'll go through exactly what's here. Wow, all I can say, this was pretty exciting. Well, here it is. They do give you an excellent set of instructions in different languages for assembly of this, which really I feel is a great thing. Then there's a new controller here that eventually will have an offline controller available. And you can see it's got a flame detector on this one and an emergency stop on that. That's pretty cool. I noticed there are engravings in inches on each of these rails now. That's pretty neat. And the big thing is they moved the X motor off of the laser right onto the gantry here and made this gantry super lightweight along with a brand new laser design that's designed to be lightweight to give you really fast engraving speed. So we're going to see how this works out, but this is pretty exciting. And they do give you a setup gauge and even a mount for the setup gauge for setting your focus distance. Comes with a cable chain this time. That's pretty cool. And here's the only wire it looks like that goes to the laser. And one other thing that I noticed, the power supply this time is actually a 24 volt. So they went from 12 volt, they doubled the voltage, which is really pretty neat. That should make it run better. And all the hardware is included. And some real good information on setting up the focus. Plus they give you a very thin black sheet here. Feels like aluminum almost for focusing on so you can see the point. And a couple little pieces to practice on there. So that's pretty much what is in the box, and it's mostly pre-assembled, so let's start putting it together, see how long it takes. So pretty much the instructions for putting this together are really excellent. If you follow the instructions carefully, there'll be no problem whatsoever. This is the best job I've seen Ortur do with instructions. And you just have to make sure you have all the engravings oriented in the right direction, and it does show you that on the instructions. And first thing you do is you slide those little corner brackets into the two corners there, and then just assemble them with the M5 screws that come with the kit. When you first open it up, just check everything and make sure you have all the hardware before you start. Then there's a couple of those slide-in M5 nuts that go in the front and rear of the extrusion to hold the feet in place. And you have to make sure that you slide them in before you put on the final corners. And then you have those same little brackets. They only really slide in one way, and you'll see that when you go to do it. But the screws on them are loose, and they just slide together. And same thing, the long M5 screws go right through and into the end of the extrusion there, which is tapped. Then you just have to go back through and tighten all the those corner brackets, and you have to just kind of tighten one side a little bit and then the other side and work your way so that they pull tight in the corner there, because you have two set screws on there. And just check and make sure everything's nice and square when you get done there. And there are 4 of these you have to go back and tighten up now. Same thing, tighten a little bit one side and then the other. Then the carriage is all pre-assembled, and actually a fit on there perfect. Really high quality wheels on this carriage this time too. It looks like they got the POM wheels on it. So that goes on, and then you have to put the rear feet on it. Now on the rear feet you have the timing belt hold down also. So little slot that you pull the timing belt through and just leave enough sticking out there so the screw will hold it. And then one screw goes in that sliding nut, and you tighten that down a little bit. Not enough so that it won't move though. And then the other screw actually has a washer on it that goes on the screw before you put it in, and that washer locks on the belt there so you can tension the belt. And I just tightened down these sides, and then I went back and tensioned the belt from the other end. So really, so far pretty simple, nothing major that you have to assemble. The main part is really all put together with that gantry. And then the same thing with the other side. That timing belt actually slides down there and under the wheels on the gantry. Same thing, you have to just make sure that the teeth on it are facing down and put enough through there so that you can get that screw to hold it from shifting. Looks like the brackets on this one are made from aluminum, I'm thinking, and the last one they were made from plastic. So this one looks to be a little bit heavier duty too. And then on the front, you have to pull that belt. You have to follow the instructions. Just wind the belt up around the pulley there and then down onto the wheel. And then on the front, there's a limit switch bracket that goes on there. And the front screw of the limit switch bracket actually works as a tensioning screw for the belt also. So pretty much I started the 2 screws loosely. And then I went back and tighten that back one first there, so it wouldn't move, and then just kind of tensioned the belt as tight as I could. Got a lot of pressure on it, so there's zero play between that and the pulley, so everything's nice and tight. And then once you get that tensioned, just tighten that screw down there and it's locked in place. And I did go back and trim off some of the extra later that got in the way there. But that side you can see is nice and tight now. Then once you get that bracket in place, a new control box goes on the front there, and that uses one of the sliding nuts that you put in a couple steps back. And the other one just goes right into the corner there, and kind of like the foot also. This is pretty nice. This new box actually has a flame detector on it, an emergency off button on it, and extra plugs so you can, later on you're going to have an offline controller come out for it, I guess. But for now it's supposed to be a much better setup than the last ones. I really like how everything's right out front there. And I'm just going to flip it upside down, and this is a bracket that holds the that cable raceway. That's a really nice feature on it. With this one now, I'll be able to make a nice enclosure to control and vent the exhaust fumes out. So this cable will make it, much easier not having a cable flopping off the side there. And again, you just use that T-nut that comes in there and tighten it down, and that's the front bracket for the mounting of the cable trough. And then the other bracket, there are two little M3 Phillips head screws that go into the side of the gantry there, and they thread in fine. Everything's lined up perfect so far. And these are the ones that have the little rounded head on them you use here. And there's 4 more flatheads you use for the actual cable chain. And then I'm going to put this other front side on and get everything all tensioned up here. And the same as I did on the back side there. You start the screws. And the only thing I'm going to do here, though, is I'm just going to tension it up as the belt falls, kind of like. I'm going to put the washer in there and tighten it. And what I have to do later is go back and sync the 2 sides to make sure that everything is perfectly square. And once it's running, I'll just burn a box with it, perfectly square box. And then you measure from catty corner to catty corner in both directions. And if they don't match up perfectly, you're out of square, and you have to loosen that little coupling between the 2 sides and just shift one a little bit, twist it a little bit compared to the other one, and square it all up. But right now I'm just going to go with, how it fell from the factory. And it's really nice how they put the wiring in for this motor here. It's buried right in that cross piece of the gantry, and it's keyed and plugs in tight. Make sure everything is fully seated as you plug it in. And then the laser just slides down into, there's like a little dovetail slide there, and a little screw that you put in there to hold that. Really nice how they put that a piece of plastic on there too to help protect your eyes. Then the cable chain screws into the 2 brackets that you just mounted. Those are those little M3 screws that are left that hold them in place. And the cabling on this one's really simple, and it's looks like it'll be robust, and there shouldn't be any problems with it the way everything is tied back when you get done. Just sometimes my big fat fingers have a hard time with these little tiny screws, but you'll get them. And just tighten that up there. And the same up on that other bracket that we mounted. That one you just tighten the back of the cable chain on. And it's time to snake the cables around a little bit and get everything plugged in. The motor cable goes right in there, and again, make sure everything is seated perfectly. And then the one for the other motor that's buried in the gantry goes right there. The 2 pieces, everything's has locks on it to hold it together and stuff. And then there's a plug in the front that gets plugged in. And pretty much one plug does it all on this one. That's really nice. And then you have to go by the instructions for plugging in the limit switch. But I went by the picture, what I could see, and it actually turned out being wrong in the end. I'll show you a better shot a little later. But when I first turned it on, all I got was a grinding sound, and it ran to home, and nothing would shut off. And then the laser just plugs in with this one small cable here. And they actually include the grounding on this unit also. You'll see there's a lug hanging off there that you have to just kind of terminate under that one screw in the corner there with that spacer. So this one you don't have to worry about grounding. It all comes, part of the kit. And the included wrench works, fits there good. Then the other end just plugs right into that connector there. It's hanging up. And then you have to get into a little bit of cable tying. Now they show this this one cable on the laser being tied back to that standoff there. So I just snaked a tie wrap in there, and actually I put two of them in there, one above the other just to be safe. Two of them fit, and I just kind of left a little loop down there and pulled it tight, and that's really going to be a nice, nice tight connection, nice way to strain relief it actually, and it won't affect the cable no matter what, that connector. And then the same thing here, the switch, you'll notice that I've got them plugged wrong there. I've tried to follow the instructions, but the picture just wasn't clear. It looks like they flipped the switches almost. And then there's one more M5 screw and nut that goes in here for grounding the carriage. And that side of the gantry actually, grounds everything. It's all bolted together. And then it's just a matter, they do have some good pictures of how everything tie wraps up and stuff, so make sure all the cables are really tied down tight, and there's no strain on the connectors or anything, and that the limit switch is all actuate at this point. And then once everything's all tied down nice and tight, go back and trim off the excess that's left on all those little cable ties. Get it out of your way. And they do show you how to tie wrap them back to the sides of that and stuff. And they really did get the cabling on this down, and they really did do a good job on this one. Then that little holder for the setup gauge goes on the front there, and there's a couple of those twist-in T-nut type things, and two more M5 screws. So I find it easiest just to start those nuts a little bit, and then just slide them into the slot there, get them both aligned, and as you tighten it, they'll actually twist and lock in place. A neat little 3D printed part. I may try to see if I can get the file to print for my old laser. And you can put that anywhere you want. I just stuck it over in that corner. And then plug it in, and first time, actually this is the second time firing it up. I got rid of the first time because all it did was it drove to the corner and ground, and I found out the switches were backwards. But once I got everything set, you can see it worked fine, and that's how I wound up wiring the switches. You see the using the two left-hand terminals, and that's how I wound up wiring that one. So make sure that you're wiring to those two terminals the way I'm showing. And everything fit together really perfect. There were no major problems or anything, and everything's really nice and tight on this one. And there is a wrench included if you have to do any adjusting on those POM wheels to tighten things up. And you can just see how much cleaner it is than this original Lasermaster, and how much lighter it is with the motor and the smaller laser and stuff. So the new one is gonna be really fast, and they do say it's gonna be a lot faster. So now that I got it together, I just took some of my old settings and I drew a circle, and I took a piece of this is 3.5 millimeter, about 1/8 inch, a little bit over an 1/8 inch thick plywood. And found out that the settings I used on the other laser really kind of fricasseed everything. This is really cooked. This one's got a lot of power. It seems to be much higher power than the last one. So, as with any new toy, you have to just keep playing. I'm still a little high on the power there and the speed. Playing until you get the results that you want, and that's what I did. I ran a couple test cuts of the same circle. Just kept varying the speed, and eventually I did get a really nice clean cut through the 3.5 millimeters. And I'm guessing that this thing will cut a lot more. I'm sure it'll go to 4, and I'm not sure how much if you do multiple trips. And then I just wanted to try to get some settings for the text, and I took that old engraving that I did for the gnome chairs, and I made it really tiny just to see how small you could read it and the fine lines I could get. And there it is. Those results are really excellent. You can see just how tiny they are, and perfectly clear, and you can read it. So this definitely does have a much finer line when you get it focused. And there I did a little bit different settings. So playing with the settings will give you different results on this and determine which you like best. Now I'm going to do some 1.6 millimeter or 1/16 of an inch thick plywood. So you use that little gauge to set it up between the actual extrusion and the face of what you're working on. Then just drop that shield down. That's about 2 millimeters off the piece. And then I'm going to try making a little name tag for my wife. Now, the first one, I thought I did have the settings down pretty good, but it turned out I was wrong. I got the text to come out pretty good, but I did make a couple mistakes there in light burn and kind of messed it up. I had cutting out the heart. I somehow hit fill and it started burning the corner and the bottom really bad. So, that was a test piece. So then I went back and tried doing some copy across and, doing multiple things, and had another problem where in light burn I wound up with multiple lines, so that didn't work out good. But, it did get me going and, show me that I'm getting close on the settings. And these lasers do take a while. I've got 3 different ones now, and they all use different settings for the same results. And then finally I got everything down, and you can see this thing is really quiet compared to the other ones. And, it's so nice not to have to wear the glasses with that orange shield on there. You kind of see what's going on there, and the cables aren't flopping all over and dragging. It really is much nicer than any of the previous ones. So you can see finally I did get all the settings down, and I did run multiples of them, and everything really came out good. I went a little bit too slow on the cut there, but I wanted a little bit of antique looking edges on the little tag, so that worked good. But I could have gone a little faster and not had as much burn through on the backside. But all in all, it worked good. And while they're cutting and that's finishing up, I thought I'd show you that they actually have a American contact and address in their technical support now. So that's a good thing. So it should be really easy to get support on this. And there it is. Once the settings were right, I was able to just knock out all those tags in a couple minutes, and they all came out perfect. Really, really nice. There was a little burn through because I did run them a little bit slow, but like I said, I wanted that little bit of antiquing on the edges, so it really did a good job. And these tags are for those little animals I showed you that my wife is making to give away to unfortunate kids. So, these are some of them that are ready to go, and you can see each one's going to get a little tag like this on it, just Cuddly Critters by Nanny. So, I got that done in a couple minutes. So these lasers are really great for, things like that. And, again, here it is. Everything was there. No problems. It all went together perfect. I really like that new flame detector. Should a fire ever start, it'll shut down. And also the emergency switch is right there in the front. So if you run into problems, you just hit that fast and it shuts it down. Along with that nice shield that they've got on there. And actually this laser really seems so much better than the other ones. And also there'll be an offline controller someday for it. But, you really don't need it. And little things like that belt tensioner they put in there to really help you get the belt nice and tight for the speeds this thing's going to be traveling at. I didn't want to make this video too long, so I'll be doing some more follow-ups on this once I get a chance to play with it a little bit more. But I'll put links down below to Made the Best, and if you want to give them a try, you know, if you have any problems, just let me know and I'll take care of them. And it will be a couple weeks before these actually start shipping. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.